Good morning, everyone. I'm Tamron Hall, and this is News Nation. There are major developments out of Nigeria this morning. That country announced it is offering a $300,000 reward for information leading to the rescue of the nearly 300 girls who were abducted from their school almost a month ago. Also, the U.S. is now sending help to Nigeria. Secretary of State John Kerry called Nigeria's president after saying last week that country had not requested assistance from the United States.
Why has it taken so long to mobilize an American effort?
We have been in touch from day one, and our embassy has been engaged, and we have been engaged, but the government had its own set of strategies, if you will, in the beginning.
And in an interview with NBC's Al Roker, President Obama made his first on-camera comments since Nigeria accepted U.S. assistance.
I can only imagine what the parents are going through. So what we've done is we have offered, and it's been accepted, help from our military and law enforcement officials.
NBC News White House correspondent Kristen Welker joins us live. So, Kristen, give us more details on what this assistance means. Our colleague Chuck Todd was on earlier saying, listen, this is not the situation where the Navy SEALs will swoop in and try to rescue these girls. If that's not the case, what are we waiting to see happen here?
Well, first of all, Secretary of State John Kerry saying that this assistance will come immediately, so you can expect it in a matter of days, not weeks. Here are some of the specifics, Tamron. The assistance will include military intelligence and FBI forensics investigators, hostage negotiators, also satellite imaging and electronic eavesdropping, and then drone bases could also be a part of this as well. The question surrounding this assistance that the United States is offering is how well will they work with Nigerian officials once they arrive? How smoothly will that process and that transition take place? But look, Tamron, this is all happening as the international outrage is mounting for something to be done. There have been protests for the past several days, both abroad here in the United States as well, including one yesterday that took place outside of what is now a shuttered Nigerian embassy. There is an online campaign that has been raging, everyone from former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to Malala Yousafzai, who is the Pakistani girl who was shot by the Taliban, joining in that online protest. And then yesterday, all 20 female U.S. senators signed a letter to President Obama condemning these kidnappings, condemning Boko Haram, that's the terrorist group responsible for these kidnappings, and calling for sanctions against Boko Haram. All this happening, Tamron, while the leader of Boko Haram yesterday threatened to sell the girls into slavery. So just adding to the urgency to find them, to bring them back to their families. For a little bit of broader context about what specifically is happening inside Nigeria, Tamron, there has been really an Islamic uprising, extremist uprising for the past 5 years. The United States has sent assistance to Nigeria every year in the form of several $1 million to try to combat terrorism. But I have been speaking with one local official who says really the situation is just getting worse, not better, and that these kidnappings are proof of that.
With that said, Kristen, there are some who are asking, could the United States have pushed harder to exert some influence here if the Nigerian government was moving at this slow pace?
Yeah, and what the administration says is that they did offer assistance. They repeatedly offered assistance, but Nigeria's president was very clear that they wanted to try to bring the girls back, that they had, and you heard Secretary of State John Kerry talk about this, that they had their own strategies for doing so. But as the days and the weeks now have worn on, it is clear that that strategy is not working. And so finally you have this result.
All right,
Tamron.
Kristen, thank you. And there are reports of a deadly new attack in northeastern Nigeria, and it is being blamed on Boko Haram, those terrorists we were just discussing. The report says as many as 300 people were killed in this latest attack. Let's bring in Michelle Fall, Chief Africa Correspondent for the Associated Press. She joins us now via Skype. She's in Lagos, Nigeria. Also with us, Nicole Lee, the outgoing president of Trans-Africa, Washington, D.C.-based organization that seeks to promote a just U.S. foreign policy for Africa. Michelle, let's first start with you here now. Since all of this international media attention, we've had two recent attacks involving Boko Haram, the exact opposite reaction that many people thought we would see. They seem emboldened more than ever before here.
Boko Haram's leader, Abubakar Shekau, has said that he fears no one, including President Obama, that he is the representative of Allah on this earth, and that his job is to create an Islamic State in Nigeria. Of course, a lot of criticism, because many of the people who have been killed, many of the girls who've been abducted are Muslims.
And you had an opportunity, Michelle, to speak with one of the girls, a 16-year-old who escaped on the night of the kidnappings, April 15th. What did she say happened that night?
She says that they heard shooting and explosions, grenades, we think, from the town. But when armed men came into the dormitory where they were sleeping, they weren't frightened, because these men said, "We're soldiers, we're here to rescue you, we'll take you to a safe place, nothing's going to happen to you." And she says it wasn't until they had obediently filed outside, sat down in the earth, and these men started setting fire to the school and shouting, "Allahu Akbar," which means God is great, that they realized, oh my goodness, these people are actually the Islamic extremists.
And Michelle, tell me more regarding this $300,000 reward being offered for information, and reports that there is some negotiating going on behind the scenes with leaders of Boko Haram. And I actually find that so perplexing, because so many people have said the leader of this terrorist organization is an unreasonable person. How do you reason with someone who is so clear with his ideology, and what would motivate him to return those girls?
Well, Boko Haram has, in the past, released hostages, reportedly for ransoms, and that is one of the many ways in which they're funded. What would what would lead him to free the girls? Money, I should imagine, would be the only motivating factor here. You know that he is saying he will sell them into slavery. Just Monday night, they abducted another 11 girls, even younger than the others. These girls are aged between 12 and 15. And, you know, he has said there is a market for this and I will sell them.
Nicole, let me bring you into the conversation. I know you've written that in your words, where we need to take ownership as if this happened in Chicago or if this happened in Washington, D.C. We need to make sure our own government is helping in any way that we can. Is that a fair comparison, in that Nigeria has a government in place? It has its president. It has its military, albeit recent reports account that the military has been demoralized. They feel that Boko Haram is far more heavily armed than they. Not to say that people should not certainly be protesting and demanding some justice here and some help, but is it a fair comparison to say if this happened in Chicago or Washington, D.C.?
Well, you know, here's the thing. I mean, the truth of the matter is the people of Nigeria, parents of Nigeria, mothers, fathers, they care about their children as much as we do. I mean, frankly, Nigerians have been the ones that have suffered. The just regular, ordinary people of Nigeria have been suffering under Boko Haram. Before these kidnappings, there have been so many terrorist threats and also actual bombings that have taken place in Nigerian cities. So, you know, unfortunately, it did take the world almost 3 weeks to recognize that 300 women had been kidnapped. I think it is a fair comparison, because these women are as important as women in any other country or any other city.
Well,
and I'm proud to see the international community.
I'm saying as far as the aid that the United States, not the outcry, not the outrage. We've been covering this story extensively.
Sure.
Not to say that at all. We know that all life is important, all life is valuable, no matter the color, no matter the location. I'm asking as far as the U.S. response and what our country can do.
Well, I think the U.S. response, frankly, has been a result of Americans getting together and saying this is important for us. So I am very proud, frankly, and I welcome President Obama and Secretary Kerry's announcement. I think also we need to continue to use strong diplomacy to make sure the Nigerian government sticks to the promises of investigating and finding these girls. I think that certainly our response, the U.S. response, has been a wonderful, welcome thing. It has been 3 weeks, and you know, I wish it had become sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. But let me ask you, though, regarding the reaction from other African nations. You have the World Economic Forum meeting in Nigeria's capital. We know that any crisis in the world, including the one ongoing in Ukraine, people look to the United States. But I have to ask, are other African nations now doing enough here to assist as well?
No, I think so. And certainly South Africa has reached out. Other nations have reached out and said they're certainly willing to help to search for the girls. Certainly Boko Haram is a terrorist organization that is not just impacting Nigeria, but it's also impacting the neighbors like Cameroon. So they're certainly very concerned about it. I think, though, what's been so amazing about the response to the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls, that it's not just countries in Africa, but it's countries all over the world, and it's people all over the world that are demanding a change, and not just a momentary promise for change, but that actually these girls will be rescued and safely returned to their families, and that the people of Nigeria can live in prosperity and in security.
Absolutely, Nicole. And Michelle, let me bring you back in, and your point about in the past the government has been able to give ransom money to Boko Haram, but does that again only embolden them if they get this money and release the girls? To Nicole's point, this terrorist organization has plagued many parts of Africa. They remain a threat throughout the world. In fact, there's no borders to keep terrorism just in Nigeria or just in neighboring nations. And if you are paying them, they don't go away.
Tamarin, it was not the Nigerian government that paid the hostages. That I must make clear. And I think that one of the issues involved here, you hit the nail on the head when you showed Senator Kerry talking about it, that Nigeria's government, it appears, has not been accepting help that has been offered. And I think President Jonathan gave us a hint of why that was at a media chat on Sunday, where he complained that in a conversation he had with President Obama, his request for help was met with complaints about alleged abuses, and these are very serious allegations of abuses by the Nigerian military. And we just got a statement today from something called the Northern Elders Forum, and they are saying they want to bring President Jonathan as the chief of army, the chief of the forces in Nigeria, before the ICC, the International Criminal Court, for the abuses that have been committed by his troops, including extrajudicial killings and detention deaths of thousands of people in the northeast of Nigeria.
Well, Michelle, thank you for your excellent reporting on the ground. Nicole, thank you as well for all the information you've included, I think, in educating people on the situation as we wait yet another day without these girls being brought back to their families. Thank you both.
Yes, thank you.
And now some developing news we're watching minutes from now.